Okay, all flight controllers, go, no, go for landing. Retro.
Go.
FIDO.
Go.
Guidance.
Go.
Control.
Go.
Telcom.
Go.
GNC.
Go.
ECOM.
Go.
Surgeon.
Go.
Capcom, we're go for landing.
Eagle, Houston, you're a go for landing, over. At 4 forward, drift into the right a little.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Forward, just. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
To our best knowledge, we had between 7 and 17 seconds of fuel remaining at the time that we actually landed.
The touchdown itself, from my point of view, was a real high in terms of elation. Not so much for the instant, but because it marked the achievement that 1/3 people had been working for a decade to accomplish. And it was a feeling of, we, 1/3 people, managed it.
The moment when the engine shut down and the checklist was essentially in comfortable status, we turned most things off, there was a moment when I could look over to Neil, and we both looked at each other, and I patted him on the back, and that was a moment of realization for both of us that we just had pulled this thing off that people have been dreaming about for so long. And we were lucky enough to be two human beings picked to carry out this marvelous adventure.
Man was on the moon. It is a watershed moment in history, and the world would never be the same again.
Well, Apollo 11 for me was a completion of a dream. I'd always thought of mankind going out to the moon, and it actually happened in my lifetime when I was relatively young. I think it's going to turn out to be one of the key things in the future of mankind.
When Apollo 11 landed, I was in my home in Los Angeles, and I remember vividly that night stepping outside the house to purposefully look up at the moon and study it, and see if I could see somebody up there. Obviously impossible, but the knowledge that there were humans standing on that planet gave me a whole new focus on space, the space program, my life, the life of the people around me.
And that magic day 25 years ago when I said glued to the television by epoxy resin, you couldn't get me away from it for any reason on earth, even if there was no Madonna in those days, but if she had walked into the room later, I was just holding my breath, and I had a microphone with me and an audio cassette, and I thought, now, I don't know what in the world I will say when I actually see it happen, but I want to record whatever I'm going to say.
From inside Eagle, Armstrong and Aldrin see the huge crater they had barely missed on their approach and landing. Everything around them is chalky gray. The sky is black. After a quiet lunch, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin prepare to step into an unknown world and take the most famous walk in human history.
Roger, we copy. Pretty good little jump. I'm at the foot of the ladder. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Oh, that looked beautiful from here, Neil.
When Neil Armstrong actually stood at the bottom rung of the ladder and then stepped out onto the moon, everything seemed to freeze. It's though time stopped. I can still remember that feeling of stasis. You know, this was the end, really, of history and the beginning of a new history.
For me, for example, it was very happy because first time the man from Earth step to another planet. It's really a good step. Unfortunately, our project, Russian project about flying to the moon was finished. The end.
As Armstrong, then Aldrin, step from the lunar module onto the surface of the moon, they enter a world never before explored by any man.
Once when we were on the surface of the moon, as I looked out and had an opportunity to make some sort of an observation, the words magnificent desolation were extemporaneous as could be. I hadn't given them any thought ahead of time. But to me, they really did express the magnificence of what we as a species, as a human species, have just accomplished.
Oh, that looks beautiful from here, Neil. It has a stark beauty all its own.
During their lunar visit, Armstrong and Aldrin drill core samples in the moon's surface, photograph the surrounding terrain, and collect rock and soil samples. The two moonwalkers leave behind scientific instruments, an American flag, and a plaque commemorating man's first exploration of the moon.
For those who haven't read the plaque, we'll read the plaque that's on the front landing gear of this LEM. Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. It came in peace for all mankind.
60 miles above, Michael Collins in the command module circles every 2 hours and worries about stranding his companions on the moon.
Well, I enjoyed being in the command module by myself. It was a happy little home. All the machinery was working properly, and my concerns were not within the command module, but simply that something might go wrong with the LEM, with the lunar module, and these two guys might get stuck on the surface of the moon. That was my main concern.
Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over.
Houston, Columbia, Highgate, over.
Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now. I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene.
That's all right, I don't mind a bit. How is the quality of the TV?
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike, really.